Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks, as always, for making your way here and checking out the series. You know what to do by now. If you like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. About 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. And it is an honor today to be talking with the one, the only Daryl Hall. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great, man. So you've got this excellent new collection. It's called Before After. Takes your solo albums and streams them in a way to make this really interesting kind of collection album on its own, with the additions of the Daryls House's cuts. What led to this finally happening?
Well, I just wanted to put. I feel like I've been working in this in two worlds, two parallel worlds for decades, right? And you know, everybody knows about what I do with Hall Oates and all that. I mean, that's everywhere. But people are not as aware of what I've done on my own as a solo artist, and you know, people are aware of Live from Daryls House for sure, but they're not as necessarily aware of all these solo albums that I've made over the years. And I wanted to do a body of work compilation and bring that to the front. I've been playing those songs on the TV show for years and years, but I thought that nobody's necessarily familiar with the recorded versions. So I figured I'd put those out too, and a little. So it's basically what I've been doing for the past 50 years outside of Hall Oates.
Yeah, and you know, and the thing that we see right away is how many sounds that you were able to touch upon. You know, from the late 70s all the way up until the one that came out a handful of years ago. But, you know, and I don't know, you went from sort of the prog thing. You touch on jazz a little bit here, you know, you bring in the R&B beats a little bit over here, but you never stay in one place like too long. You know, as your own journeyman in the solo world, where did that come from? Because you sort of never just said, well, this is my sound, this is where I'm going to settle.
Well, you know, at the core of it all, I'm a soul singer. I mean, I think everybody knows that. No matter what production or song style it revolves around that, there's a core of what I do with my voice. But having said that, I explore a lot of different directions. I mean, it's just my nature. And I also like to collaborate with a lot of people, as has also been obvious over the years. I've worked with a lot of different people, and I am influenced by that, by the collaboration. So all those elements cause things to be, I'm you know, very eclectic, really.
Yeah. Well, when we back up to that first solo album, we're looking at Sacred Songs, and you know, Fripp said it too at the time that what you were doing was completely comparable to Bowie, over my shoulder right here, especially the Station to Station, the Young American style right there. Approaching that as a vocalist, though, as you're talking about as a soul singer, what was that like? Especially, you know, I look at a song like NYC&Y. You know, that how was that for you?
Well, I mean, it's all natural to me. I open my mouth and sing. You mentioned that song. We sort of wrote that spontaneously. I had the lyrics, and Robert just started playing things, and we taught it to the rhythm section that we were using, and I just screamed it all out. I mean, it happened very easily like that, very spontaneous, first takes, you know, all that kind of thing, which is what I like to do.
Yeah. Did it feel different to you though, at all, as it ended up sounding?
Uh, in the best of ways, yeah. I like it when it feels different. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the whole idea. I like to expand myself, and I like to surprise myself and be surprised by other people. Um, that's what really makes it exciting to me.
Yeah. I mean, it sounded effortless, but that's what I was curious about. Like even another song, like that crazy dreamy breakdown in Babs, and like
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things again. Like at any point did you go, okay, this is going to be different?
Uh, I knew it was going to be different from the get go because you know Robert and we were friends before we started doing this and making the record, and I just we both knew we put two people like us together, who come from very different musical backgrounds, and what's going to come out of it? Something unusual and different is going to come out of it for sure. And we were expecting that, and we were happy that it happened. It happened so easily. That was the beauty of it all. It
Yeah.
was so effortless and easy.
Yeah, you know, he as I mentioned, he brought up the Bowie thing. Were you ever able to talk to Bowie about this, because it seemed like that was right in his wheelhouse as well? Like that could have been.
I knew David pretty well, but I never spoke to him specifically about that. No,
Yeah.
but I think Robert did. You know, because Robert was playing on those at that time, playing with one of those Bowie records, and Brian Eno too. I mean, we're sort of it's a circle that I was a part of.
Yeah, that could have been an interesting collaboration right there. That's you know, it's something that will never happen now, but
Yeah, I know.
a
Too
fan
bad.
can dream.
I know.
On the opposite end of the timeline, you know, we talk about the record that came out, I think it was 2014. Like, you completely found the groove. I can't say found the groove. You've hit the groove many times, but as we used to say, that those tracks were so in the pocket. Talking to you is like talking to myself. Eyes for You. Take me back there, because that's this the more recent album right here. How did you end up on the sound that you did for that record? Because I absolutely love it.
It was very much made at home, uh, and it was I want to call that a family album. You know, my stepdaughter was on that record. Uh, my well, it started with T-Bone. Unfortunately, the tragedy of it was right in the beginning of the production. T-Bone suddenly died, suddenly passed away, and so I had to scramble around and figure out how was I going to continue this after I had done all the prep work with T-Bone. And luckily, I had my other friend, guitar player Paul Pesco, stepped in, and who is a producer as well, and he sort of kind of covered for T-Bone, and and an engineer, producer, keyboardist named Greg Beek, who I've worked with for years and years, also was involved in it. So it was a very organic, almost like a family album.
Yeah. That beat driven sound really works well for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. Love to see you explore some of that more. So, as I mentioned, the other half of this, of course, is we get these live from Daryl's house cuts on here, which I started thinking about, you know, when the pandemic hit and everyone switched to this right here, to Zoom, and you had everyone suddenly doing the at-home performances, which you had been doing for 15, 20 years at that point. Like, did that come across to you? Like, right. Yeah, a little funny. Like, I've been doing this. This isn't new.
Of course. What do you think? Yeah, I got to tell you something though. Uh, the reason that I started doing it, or one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons I started doing Daryl's House in the first place 15 years ago was it was right after there was a SARS epidemic, and it stopped my tour. I was going to with John. We were going to do a tour of Canada, and it got canceled because Canada sort of shut down the ability to do concerts. This is like 2008 or something, some year like that, right? And I thought to myself then, you know, there was something prophetic about it. I said to myself, this could happen. This could happen big time. Well, you know, and so I said, what could I do? What would be the alternative to touring around the world and getting in rooms with people? And I figured that out 15 years before everybody else had to figure it out. There
Right.
you go.
Isn't that interesting? SARS was one liftoff, and then we turn around and here it is. COVID is the other liftoff. That's
Yep, yep.
unfortunate, but very, very interesting how that worked out. You know, these versions are great, of course. You know, we talk about one of the pre-releases that you've given out with Here Comes the Rain Again. You've got Dave Stewart on that one. These songs and the way you've done these collaborations, these duets, these team ups that you've done throughout the history of this series right here. You know, I think artists get asked that question every once in a while of what's the song that you wish you would have wrote. Does this give you that chance to sort of step into those shoes? Did you ever look at it like that?
Well, you mean when I collaborate with other people? You talking about
Yeah,
LFTA?
on covers and stuff, like, you know, the songs that aren't yours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do a lot of covers. I have done some over the years, but just the LFDH experience in general allowed me to interact with songs that I could say I wish I had written. You know, that came up quite a few times during in the series. You know, the one I did with I love. I mean, Dave Stewart and I are good friends, and I love what he's done over the years with Annie and other people. I like his writing style. I think it's a very similar to the way I think. In fact, we do write very well together. And to do that song, "Here Comes the Rain Again," was a really natural thing. It was after the show was over, we set up in another room where I happened to have a grand piano at the time, and we just did that. Again, it was one of those one take things where he just got an acoustic guitar and I had the piano, and we just played the song, and it was recorded. There you go.
And it's proof, as they say, a good song stands regardless of the production. I mean, the way we hear that song most of the time on the radio and TV or whatever, the era is there, that production is there. You all strip that, and the song still stands just as tall.
In some ways, even more.
Right.
It really just, emphasizes the song.
Yeah. Did I hear that you're working with Dave again on more new music?
Yeah, I just came back from the Bahamas, where Dave has a house. I used to have a house there, and I was there for a month, and we did like 8 songs. We're whipping. And it's great. It's great to work with him. We have a lot of fun. We laugh a lot, but we get a lot done. It's a really great relationship.
Yeah. As we talk about styles, your styles that you've touched on through the years, what is the soup that you all make when you put the ingredients of you and Dave together on a new record?
Well, there's a certain kind of. Dave's got his own brand of soul, and our chord choices and things like that. Boy, it's hard to describe the writing process and what we choose, but it all falls very naturally to both of us. We like the same. We like the same sounds. We like the same ideas. We like the same subjects for songs, things like that.
Yeah. Well, I guess in sort of past and relevant, as we're talking about that, it's kind of interesting what you were telling me about the SARS and the COVID. You've got a track on here, "What's Gonna Happen to Us," which is just a beautifully written song. I love the lyrics of that, but it's one of those songs that has started feeling eerily relevant again with the war that's happening. Yeah. You get those moments with your songs, and maybe they're not the best reasons to come around, but are you starting to identify with a track like that in what's happening again?
Man, that song, "What's Going to Happen to Us," I hate to say how relevant it is. You look, listen to the lyrics of that song. What I did is I wrote about the world, and I wrote about an interpersonal relationship, and sort of combined them, and that's what that song's about. How things can be. What's the word? They can be disruptive between two people, and they can be disruptive between two countries. Mm-hmm. and it's certainly relevant and valid right now.
Yeah. When that happens, you're going to be hitting the road again. Does that song get its moment in a spotlight because of what's happening?
I've been thinking about it. It's so timely that I don't want to bring people down. But I'm still deciding what I'm going to, even though I'm going out on the road. We're going into rehearsals in about a little more than a week. I'm still not sure what I'm going to play, because I have so many directions I could go in, and certainly that's one that would be valid to play without a question.
And the other part of the tour we should bring up, you're going out with your old buddy Todd Rundgren, who that's going to be fun. Your all's relationship goes back how far at this point?
I've known Todd since we were kids, since the early 70s. In a long time. And it's great. We've gone in and out of musical relationships over the years, and I have so much respect for Todd. He's a one of a kind, but yet I really relate to his music. We have the same roots. We have the same roots, that's for sure. We grew up very close to each other.
Yeah. Do you get to rib him about not doing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I understand it. I almost did.
Is that right?
Well, if you haven't ever, I don't know if you ever saw my acceptance speech, but it wasn't very friendly.
I'll have to go back and watch that one again. I'm baited. I'm interested. That's I don't know your reasoning. That's got to be such an odd moment for anybody, even in the happiest times, to what music is, to what rock and roll stands for, and then to be there, in that kind of situation.
Yeah, I have You know, I'm happy to be in that fraternity because it represents something that is every art form has its golden age, and I do believe that I was lucky enough to participate in that, and still do participate in that golden age. But the golden age is sort of faded now. Uh, but at the same time, I have less than kind feelings towards some of the people that are involved in that whole organization.
Yeah. That ends up being, I mean, you got Dolly Parton for her own different reasons, who just went, nah, that's okay. Don't, I'll take myself back out of that. That's completely respectable.
I thought that was really cool. I thought what she said and what she did and her reasons were really, really right on.
Doesn't she always knock it out of the park, though?
She's great, man. She's a happening person.
Yeah. On subject of other people, I got one more question about this. I didn't know this, and was kind of surprised when I found it in the notes. Right as Rain. Is that true that Joni Mitchell is backing you up on that?
Yeah, yeah, she's in there. We knew she was in town, and I used to know Joni very well, and we were doing it in London, and she was in London, and I called her up and said, "Do you want to come and sing on a session?" And she came up to North London, where Dave's studio was, and we had a great night. I mean, we were completely out of our minds that night. I mean, it was just a lot of laughing. Everybody was playing everybody else's instrument, and and I said, "Why don't you sing these background parts?" And she was talking about it, and that's what she did, and there it is.
It's kind of amazing. I will say, though, to have Joni Mitchell and to be like on the background, though, it's you're not up front. It's
that whole album. I talked to Dave about that. I said, you know what? We had Joni Mitchell in the room. We didn't even try writing a song with her. What's the matter with us?
It's incredible, but she's on there though. That's still something.
And it's all right.
One of the great voices. I backtracked real quick just to say that one of the other bonus cuts on here, you're with Todd, and you guys do Can We Still Be Friends? For any reason, did you land on that track specifically?
I've always liked that song. I liked it when he wrote it. I didn't even know who he. Well, I won't go into it. I know the personal background of that song. I, as I said before, I really like most of all of his songs, but there's something really hits me on that one. I love the melody. I like what it's about. I like everything about it.
Yeah, those chords, man. You're talking about the melody. I can't even compare that to anything else. I mean, it's got this melancholiness to it, but it's not so sad.
It's poignant.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it. It's those chords. It's his melody and those chords, and I can relate to both of those things with him.
Yeah, I mean, as a songwriter, that's one of those moments. I don't feel like you could probably hit that too often, getting something like that. But it sounds great what you've done with it. So just compliments.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Daryl, again, this whole collection, it's so fun to hear how you've kind of put everything together to make this an album. I mean, I don't know how you pulled that off with the track listing. I mean, I think you've talked about in other interviews that it was really thought out. This isn't chronological, right?
No, it's not. I had that choice, but I thought it would make it more like a timeless idea to treat it like the whole thing was just a big album, and mix the songs up and make it flow in an emotional way.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a great introduction, especially for the folks who don't know the music, as you pointed out. I am so looking forward to hearing this next record, especially whatever you and Dave are doing together. Any timeline on that? Are you looking for? I mean, it sounds like you're still in the process, but is this like, hey, let's try to get it out in a year?
Yeah, we're in the process. I just need to find the time, and Dave needs to find the time. We'll get it done.
All right. Well, Dave or Daryl, not Dave. Daryl, it was so great talking to you, man. Thank you so much for doing this, and we'll see you out there on the road.
You will indeed. Okay, thank you, Ben.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.